A weak mind reacts before it thinks. It explains itself. It seeks reassurance. It bends under pressure it never learned to withstand. That inner instability doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up as tension, as constant mental noise, as the feeling of being emotionally exposed in every interaction. A Stoic mind is built on a different foundation. It moves slowly. It observes before it responds. It remains steady when others lose control. When people say a mind like this terrifies others, they aren't talking about aggression or dominance. They're describing something quieter and far more powerful. Calm in chaos, control without force, self-mastery that refuses to be provoked. This kind of strength removes leverage. It makes manipulation impossible. It turns emotional pressure into empty noise. This is not about intimidating anyone, and it's about building a mind so disciplined, so grounded, so sovereign that no one can control you. And that alone changes everything. 1. Master your reactions. That's where real power begins. A strong mind is not loud. It does not rush to defend itself. It does not respond to every stimulus placed in front of it. Reaction is the default state of the modern world. Messages demand instant replies. Opinions demand instant agreement or resistance. Emotions are expected to be expressed the moment they arise. Speed is mistaken for strength, and impulsiveness is rewarded as authenticity. But this constant reaction comes at a cost most people never calculate. Each emotional outburst hands control to something external. Each impulsive response allows circumstances to shape identity. Over time, the mind becomes conditioned to respond, not to choose. Stoic philosophy begins with an uncomfortable distinction. You do not control events. You do not control other people. You do not control outcomes. What you control is the space between what happens and how you respond to it. That space is not passive. It is active discipline. It is awareness trained through repetition, and it is where real power lives. Most inner turmoil is not created by reality, but by interpretation. A comment feels disrespectful. A delay feels personal. Silence feels like rejection. The mind rushes to assign meaning, and emotion follows as if summoned. The Stoic does not eliminate emotion. He refuses to be ruled by it. Anger is observed without obedience. Fear is acknowledged without surrender. Irritation is noticed, then dismissed. This restraint feels unnatural at first. The impulse to react is deeply ingrained. The ego wants expression. The nervous system wants release. But every resisted reaction strengthens internal authority. As this discipline deepens, something shifts. External pressure begins to lose its grip. Provocation stops working. Emotional manipulation fails quietly. What once demanded a response now passes without disturbance. This calm is often misread. Some interpret it as coldness. Others mistake it for indifference or arrogance. In reality, it is self-possession. A person who reacts less becomes harder to influence. They see patterns instead of isolated moments. They recognize emotional traps before stepping into them. They speak only when words add value. Silence becomes strategic, not submissive. Timing becomes intentional, not delayed. Responses carry weight because they are rare. Over time, reaction mastery reshapes identity. You stop being defined by what provokes you. You stop wasting energy on unnecessary conflict. And you stop granting emotional access to people who have not earned it. The Stoic does not aim to dominate others. He aims to govern himself. And that self-governance changes every interaction. When you stop reacting, people lose their leverage over you. 2. Detach from approval. Independence is intimidating. The need for approval is one of the most powerful chains the mind can wear. It hides behind politeness, it disguises itself as cooperation, but beneath the surface, it quietly dictates behavior. A mind that seeks approval is never fully its own. It scans faces for validation. It adjusts tone to avoid discomfort. It measures worth through external reaction. And the moment approval becomes necessary, control is surrendered. Stoic philosophy treats approval as optional, not essential. Not because other people don't matter, but because self-respect cannot be outsourced. When your sense of value depends on agreement, praise, or acceptance, your inner authority erodes without you noticing. This dependence shapes decisions in subtle ways. You hesitate to speak honestly, and you tolerate disrespect longer than you should. You compromise principles to preserve harmony. Over time, this creates internal friction because the mind knows when it has betrayed itself. Detachment from approval is not rejection of connection, it is rejection of dependency. The Stoic still listens, still considers, still acts with integrity, but he no longer needs permission to stand by his choices. This independence is deeply unsettling to others, not because it is hostile, but because it breaks an unspoken contract. Most interactions assume mutual emotional leverage. Approval for approval. Validation for compliance. When you remove your need for approval, that exchange collapses. Guilt loses its effectiveness. Social pressure loses its grip. Manipulation disguised as concern becomes visible. People often react negatively to this shift. They may label it as coldness. They may accuse you of arrogance or detachment. What they are actually responding to is loss of influence. A Stoic does not argue with these reactions. He does not explain his independence. He understands that clarity does not require consensus, and integrity does not require applause. As approval-seeking fades, internal alignment strengthens. Decisions become simpler. Boundaries become clearer. The mind stops negotiating its values in every interaction. This stability creates a quiet authority. You no longer chase acceptance. You no longer fear disapproval. You stand calmly in your position, whether it is popular or not. Nothing unsettles people more than someone who doesn't need them, not out of arrogance, but out of self-sufficiency. This is not isolation, and it is sovereignty. And sovereignty is the foundation of an unshakable mind. 3. Embrace discomfort. Comfort creates fragility. Comfort feels safe, but it quietly weakens the mind. When ease becomes the default, resistance feels like a threat. The moment pressure appears, stability disappears. This is how fragility is built. Slowly, invisibly, and without warning. Modern life trains people to avoid discomfort at all costs. Inconvenience is treated as injustice. Difficulty is framed as failure. Any form of strain is seen as something to escape rather than endure. The mind adapts to this softness, and its tolerance shrinks. Stoic philosophy takes the opposite path. It teaches voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, but as preparation. The Stoic chooses difficulty before difficulty chooses him. Cold, silence, effort, restraint. These are not enemies. They are training tools. And a mind that regularly meets discomfort learns an important lesson. Discomfort is survivable. It rises, peaks, and fades. It does not destroy character unless character is already weak. Each time discomfort is endured without complaint, confidence deepens. This practice reshapes perception. Hardship is no longer interpreted as danger. It becomes information. Resistance becomes feedback, not a signal to retreat. The mind grows familiar with pressure, and fear loses its urgency. Those who avoid discomfort remain dependent on favorable conditions. They need quiet to think clearly, comfort to function, certainty to act. When these conditions disappear, so does their stability. The Stoic is different. He builds strength where others build avoidance. He understands that comfort never produces resilience. Only challenge does. This is why people who embrace discomfort are difficult to shake. They are not surprised by difficulty. They have already met it many times by choice. What overwhelms others feels familiar to them. Discomfort also sharpens judgment. When the mind is not constantly seeking relief, it becomes more disciplined, less reactive, more selective with energy and attention. Over time, this discipline creates an inner gravity. You stop chasing ease. You stop fearing hardship. You trust yourself to handle what arrives. That confidence does not need to be announced. It is felt. People sense when someone is not dependent on comfort to remain composed. They sense when pressure does not produce panic. This is another reason calm strength feels intimidating. Not because it threatens, but because it exposes fragility in others. Discomfort does not break you. It reveals you. And when embraced consistently, it forges a mind that remains steady regardless of conditions. 4. Control your inner dialogue. Most battles are internal. The greatest conflicts you will ever face do not happen in public. They happen quietly, inside your own mind. No opponent, no audience, just thought turning against itself. Most people lose battles they never see. They replay conversations that are already over. They imagine threats that never arrive. They criticize themselves more harshly than any enemy ever could. This constant internal noise drains energy long before action is required. Stoic philosophy recognizes a difficult truth. Events do not disturb the mind. Thoughts about events do. Suffering begins when interpretation replaces observation. The mind creates stories, and emotion follows those stories as if they were facts. Overthinking is not intelligence, it is undisciplined attention. Self-criticism is not humility, and it is misdirected control. Imagined threats feel real because the mind reacts to them as if they already exist. The Stoic trains himself to notice this process in real time. A thought appears. Instead of believing it, he examines it. Instead of following it, he questions it. Not every thought deserves agreement. This discipline requires restraint. The mind wants movement, it wants resolution, it wants certainty, even if that certainty is false. But clarity comes from slowing thought, not accelerating it. When inner dialogue is controlled, emotional intensity decreases. Fear loses urgency. Anger loses momentum. Anxiety loses authority. The mind regains its position as an observer rather than a prisoner. This does not mean suppressing thought. It means filtering it. Thoughts are treated as tools, not truths. Only those aligned with reason and principle are allowed to guide action. As this habit strengthens, the internal environment becomes quieter. Decisions feel cleaner. Focus sharpens. Energy stops leaking into imaginary problems. People with disciplined inner dialogue are difficult to destabilize. Insults fail to land. Doubt does not spread easily. Pressure loses its psychological advantage. Others may try to provoke reaction. They may introduce uncertainty, criticism, or urgency. But without internal cooperation, those tactics collapse. The mind remains steady because it does not echo external chaos. This is why a disciplined mind does not need to prove anything. It does not argue with every thought. It does not defend itself against imagined judgment. It simply acts in alignment with reason. When the inner dialogue is calm, the outer world loses its power. Control returns inward, where it belongs, and a mind that governs itself internally cannot be conquered externally. 5. Set boundaries without explanation. A strong mind does not announce its limits, it enforces them. Most people struggle with boundaries because they confuse them with negotiation. They explain too much. They justify their decisions. They seek understanding before they act. In doing so, they turn self-respect into something that needs approval. Explanation weakens boundaries because it invites debate. The moment you explain why you said no, you open the door for someone else to argue why you should say yes. Boundaries stop being lines and become conversations, and conversations can be manipulated. Stoic philosophy approaches boundaries differently. A boundary is not a request. It is a statement of reality. It does not need emotional packaging or moral defense. It exists to protect inner order, not to satisfy external comfort. And people who lack boundaries often believe they are being kind. In truth, they are being afraid of conflict. They tolerate behavior that drains them. They accept disrespect to avoid tension. Over time, this tolerance turns into resentment, and resentment erodes mental clarity. The Stoic understands that peace is not maintained by accommodation. It is maintained by limits. Clear limits reduce friction. Unclear limits invite intrusion. When you stop explaining your boundaries, resistance appears. People who benefited from your availability feel confused. Those who relied on your compliance feel challenged. Some may accuse you of changing, becoming distant or cold. This reaction is revealing. It shows who valued your presence and who valued your access. A Stoic does not argue with these reactions. He does not defend his need for space. He does not justify his priorities. He simply maintains consistency. Consistency is what gives boundaries weight. Not tone, not emotion, not persuasion. When boundaries are enforced calmly and repeatedly, others adapt or remove themselves. Both outcomes restore order. This is why distance is sometimes necessary. Distance is not punishment, it is protection. It allows the mind to remain clear when proximity creates noise. Stoic boundaries are expressed through action, not explanation. A call goes unanswered. A request is declined without elaboration. Time is redirected without apology. At first, this feels uncomfortable. The urge to explain rises quickly. The mind wants to be understood. The ego wants reassurance that it is still accepted. But each time you resist that urge, self-trust strengthens. You learn that silence does not equal guilt. You learn that self-respect does not require witnesses. Boundaries without explanation also reveal something important. They show how people respond when they can no longer negotiate access to you. Some respect the line immediately. Others test it repeatedly. The Stoic pays attention, not with anger, but with clarity. Patterns matter more than promises. Behavior matters more than words. Over time, your presence changes. You are no longer easily interrupted. Your time feels more deliberate. Your attention becomes selective. This selectivity creates quiet authority. People sense when access is earned, not assumed. They become more intentional around you. Less demanding, less careless. Boundaries also protect emotional energy. Without them, the mind becomes crowded. Other people's urgency becomes your stress. Other people's chaos becomes your burden. With boundaries, the mind regains space. Thought becomes clearer. Emotion stabilizes. Focus deepens. This is not selfishness, it is responsibility. You cannot govern yourself if everyone else has equal claim to your attention. A Stoic sets boundaries not to control others, but to remain governed by principle. And principle requires structure. When boundaries are firm and silent, manipulation fails. Guilt loses its leverage. Pressure loses its urgency. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You only need the discipline to stop explaining why your peace matters. 6. Become predictable in discipline, unreadable in emotion. There is a difference between being consistent and being exposed. Most people are emotionally predictable but behaviorally unstable. Their moods shift daily. Their reactions change with circumstance. Yet their discipline appears only when conditions are convenient. This imbalance makes them easy to read and easy to influence. When emotion leads and discipline follows, control is always external. Anyone who can trigger a feeling can redirect behavior. Stoic strength reverses this pattern. Discipline becomes predictable. Emotion becomes contained. What you do is consistent. What you feel remains private. Predictable discipline builds trust. When your habits do not fluctuate with mood, others know what to expect from your actions. You show up when you say you will. You act according to principle, not impulse. This reliability creates respect without explanation. Unreadable emotion creates distance. When your inner state is not displayed openly, others lose the ability to adjust their behavior around your reactions. They cannot bait anger. They cannot rush urgency. They cannot read insecurity to gain leverage. This does not mean emotional suppression. It means emotional privacy. Feelings are processed internally, not broadcast externally. The Stoic understands that not every emotion deserves an audience. Emotional exposure is often mistaken for honesty. In reality, it frequently signals lack of control. When every irritation is visible, every frustration spoken, every mood reflected immediately, the mind becomes transparent. Transparency without discipline invites interference. But people adjust their behavior to manage your reactions. They soften truths. They exploit sensitivity. They learn which buttons to press and when to press them. The Stoic refuses this vulnerability. He allows emotion to exist, but not to dictate behavior, not to define posture, not to control presence. This separation creates psychological asymmetry. Your discipline remains constant. Your emotional state remains ambiguous. Others cannot tell if they have affected you, and uncertainty disrupts manipulation. This is why emotional control feels unsettling. People rely on feedback to navigate interactions. They look for signals of approval, irritation, or weakness. When those signals are absent, they lose orientation. Discipline fills the gap. While emotion stays contained, routine continues. Work gets done. Standards are maintained, so no announcement is required. This consistency creates gravity. Your presence stabilizes environments rather than reacting to them. You do not absorb chaos. You do not amplify tension. You remain aligned regardless of atmosphere. Predictable discipline also strengthens identity. You stop negotiating with yourself daily. You no longer ask whether you feel like acting. You act because it is who you are. This reduces internal friction and mental fatigue. Unreadable emotion protects energy. When emotions are not constantly expressed, they are processed more efficiently. Less energy is wasted on explanation. Less attention is pulled outward. This inward containment sharpens perception. You notice shifts in others without broadcasting your own. You observe tone, timing, and behavior more clearly. Awareness increases when reaction decreases. So some interpret this as coldness, others call it distance. The Stoic understands it as clarity. Emotional control is not absence of feeling, but refusal to be ruled by it. Over time, this combination creates quiet authority. People know what you will do, but not how you feel about it. They cannot predict whether pressure is working. They cannot tell if provocation has landed. This uncertainty changes behavior around you. People become more measured, less impulsive, more respectful. Not because you demand it, but because your consistency sets a tone. Discipline also reinforces boundaries without words. When actions remain steady, regardless of emotional attempts to sway you, others learn quickly where influence ends. They stop testing limits that do not move. The Stoic does not seek mystery for its own sake. An unreadable emotion is not a tactic. It is a consequence of internal order. When the mind is governed by principle, emotion no longer spills outward. It is felt, understood, and released internally. Predictable discipline ensures progress. Unreadable emotion ensures protection. Together, they create a presence that feels grounded and immovable. This presence does not intimidate through force. It unsettles because it cannot be accessed. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be redirected emotionally. And when people realize they cannot read you, they stop trying to control you. 7. Live by principle, not by mood. Mood is unstable by nature. It rises and falls without warning. It responds to sleep, stress, praise, rejection, hunger, boredom. A mind that lives by mood is never anchored. It drifts from state to state, decision to decision, without continuity. Most people believe their moods are honest signals. They trust them. They follow them. They excuse behavior because of them. But moods are not guides. They are weather. Stoic philosophy draws a clear line here. What fluctuates cannot lead. Only what remains constant deserves authority. Principles are fixed points. They do not change with comfort or discomfort. They do not depend on motivation. They are chosen in advance when the mind is clear. And they exist precisely to guide action when clarity is absent. A person ruled by mood is easy to predict. No energy one day, avoidance the next. Conviction in the morning, doubt by evening. Commitment when things feel good. Withdrawal when resistance appears. This inconsistency weakens trust, both internal and external. The Stoic rejects this instability. He understands that strength is built in moments of reluctance, not moments of enthusiasm. He acts because it is right, not because it feels easy. Living by principle simplifies decision-making. There is less internal debate, less negotiation with impulse. When a situation arises, the question is not how it feels, but whether it aligns with what you stand for. This alignment creates internal peace. When actions match values, there is no lingering regret, no self-justification required. The mind rests because it knows it has acted correctly, even if the outcome is uncomfortable. And people who live by mood often appear expressive, but they are internally divided. Their actions contradict their beliefs. Their words conflict with their behavior. This fracture produces tension, anxiety, and self-doubt. Principle restores coherence. Thought, intention, and action move in the same direction. This unity strengthens identity. You become someone you can rely on. This reliability changes how others perceive you. They may not always agree with you. They may not always like your decisions, but they sense consistency. They sense that you are not negotiable through emotion. That realization alters dynamics immediately. Guilt loses its effectiveness. Urgency loses its pressure. Emotional appeals fail to override your standards. Living by principle also protects you from internal sabotage. On difficult days, when motivation is low, see principles carry you forward. On easy days, when ego grows loud, principles restrain excess. Mood asks, "What do I want right now?" Principle asks, "Who am I choosing to be?" This question grounds behavior in identity, not circumstance. And identity, once stabilized, becomes a source of strength. The Stoic does not expect life to cooperate. He does not require favorable conditions to act correctly. He understands that external chaos is inevitable. Internal order is not. This is why principle-driven people feel unshakable. They do not swing with opinion. They do not shift under pressure. They do not abandon standards for comfort. Others may interpret this as stubbornness. In reality, it is alignment, a refusal to fragment under external influence. Over time, this creates trust. Not emotional trust, but structural trust. People know where you stand. They know what you will tolerate. They know what you will not compromise. This clarity removes confusion. It reduces unnecessary conflict. It also removes opportunities for manipulation. When mood no longer dictates behavior, you stop being pulled into emotional cycles that drain energy. You stop reacting to every internal fluctuation. You become steady. That steadiness becomes a reference point. Others may lean on it. Some may resent it. but no one can easily move it. Principles make you unshakable, not because they make you rigid, but because they give your mind a spine. A mind with a spine does not collapse under pressure. It remains upright, regardless of weight. And that posture, quiet, consistent, unmoving, is what ultimately defines Stoic strength. A mind this strong does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It does not seek dominance over others. It is built quietly, through discipline repeated daily, through reactions restrained, through approval released, through discomfort embraced, through thoughts governed, through boundaries enforced, through emotion contained, through principles upheld when moods fluctuate. This is what people sense long before they understand it. They feel the absence of leverage. They feel the lack of emotional access. They feel that pressure no longer moves you. That is what unsettles them. Not fear in a dramatic sense, but the realization that you cannot be rushed, provoked, or steered. That manipulation fails. That emotional games have no effect. A Stoic mind does not resist the world. It remains independent of it. And it engages without attachment and stands firm without hostility. You do not build this strength to intimidate anyone. You build it to remain whole in a world that constantly pulls people apart. To stay clear when others panic. To act with intention when others react. This kind of mental dominance is not loud. It is stable. It is grounded. It is self-governed. And once you experience it, you no longer need to prove anything. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking permission to be calm. You move through life with quiet authority, not because others submit to you, but because you no longer submit to impulse, pressure, or fear. That is Stoic strength. And it begins and ends with mastery of the mind.